Well, hello there. I'm Clarabelle, not Calico. Today, I'm a real girl. I don't have the doll joints or the cat ears or tail and stuff. Uh-oh, it's playing music. It's just an April Fool's bit. Weep boop boop. I kinda... No, yeah, let's stay like this. I didn't work on it too much or too hard. I didn't time it, but like a half hour? Maybe. I took to do this. Load. It feels so weird not being a cat, just a regular person. Oh no! I remember what I forgot. I forgot something and I knew it. I forgot what happened last time and to say what happened last time. I can't even remember a little bit what happened last time. I meant to write it down. That's okay, I think. Hopefully, you won't be too lost. Oh wait, here, I'm gonna get... I'm gonna move around a little. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Okay, I'm turning them off. What are you turning off? The nighttime?
大丈夫か?
多分。じゃあみんなおやすみ。
はいよ、おやすみ。お、お。
Oh yeah, okay.
何も見えない。椅子どこ?
Now I remember he has to stay at school to put together the festival and stuff. Yeah. Oops.
そこが花ちゃんってことはこっち
に Just kicking around, seeing who's there. What was that? An elbow?
ごめんしんちゃん。
あ、何が? 僕だ、僕。
もうどこがどこだか。なんか落ちた。
もういい。電気。いや、カーテン開けろ、カーテン。オッケ
ー。いやー、小指、足の小指ぶつけた。
Oh no! Wait. A dim light poured in from outside. I could see the outlines of the room. I had no idea what the hell Sarika had done, but she was rubbing her head. She was rubbing her head and her pinky toe simultaneously.
ねえ、これでも寝られるよね。
こんなことなら、もう少し片付けておけばよかった。
It was almost a new day. Since everybody had been at the meeting early, I ended up staying at school after all. But since there were no beds, we had to sleep under our desks. With cardboard.
好きなやつとかいるの？
Ooh. Huh?
何？お前に聞いてねえよ。女子二人。
Oh, you're not asking me? Where did this come from?
いいからよ。いるのか？おのえ。
私みんな好きだよ。
そういうんじゃなくて。いや、いい。和樹は？
Don't try to sleep and eat dried squid at the same time.
じゃあ、ファーストキスはいつだ？
まだだよ。
What was that?
しんちゃんはいつなの？
まあいい。夜の学校にお泊まりというイベント、お前ら相手に期待した俺が愚かだった。
You said fool, and it's April Fool's Day. Time for credits. Just kidding. Said the name of the show.
そうだ、忘れてた。目覚まし5時でいいよね。
She fiddled with her smartphone as she talked.
あれ、花ちゃんどうしたの
Was that voice Hana? I'd never heard her laugh before. What was so... Wait a second.
おのえの顔か？
なんで変なの私の顔。
The light from the phone screen lit up Sarika's face in the darkness, like a horror movie. She must have been waving her hand because it would appear, then disappear, then reappear again.
どういうツボだよ。
I couldn't help but agree with him. Did she love horror? Or did she look like an enemy character in an MMO?
私の顔っておかしいの？
She's finding it very funny. Kazuki burst out laughing as Sarika moved closer to her. What's so funny? What's so funny? Sarika said as she moved closer. Then, for some reason, they started to tackle each other. Tickle!
仲がよろしいことで。
A lot had happened today, and they were all new experiences to me. Let's go over them all over again. Reflect on the day. Maybe I could.
タクル、もう事件なんか追わないって約束して帰ってきなさい。手伝ってほしいことたくさんあるの。
But the case... If I wanted to, I could go back to the orphanage and live the same life as everyone else. Or could I? I don't know. Okay, I didn't do any last time. Let's do one of these. Oh, did I skip it? Oh my gosh. No. That's okay. Oh. Ito, took out his phone. The LCD screen lit up.
どうした？
忘れてた。そろそろ0時だぞ。
Midnight.
あ、
It's always kind of after midnight, isn't it? Ito stood up and started to fiddle with the club's PC.
はい2015年10月10日
Oh,
になりました皆様ようこそいらっしゃいませ K さんと申します
I heard a familiar voice.
今日の夜は少し冷え込んでいますね着実に秋が到来しているようですいかがお過ごしでしょうかさて本日放送の機会を設けさせていただいたのは聞いてくださっている皆様ならもうご存知ですね本日10月10日は6年前にヴァンパイアと呼ばれた事件が起きた日付です
She was right. I'd totally forgotten. Today was October 10th. Somewhere in Shibuya, probably in the next 24 hours, someone would... No, I just thought about this, right? I could live the same life as everyone else. So, I could just forget about the case.
電話？んだよ、こんなと。
Who is it? Ito froze as he looked at the phone.
しんちゃんこれまでの経緯をもう一度簡単に
Kei's voice suddenly vanished. Ito had muted it. His hands were shaking a little.
おい。
やべえ。なんだ、これ。
何かだよ。
Yeah, with
電
what?
話。お前からだ。
Oh, yeah, that's right. We lost our phone. I forgot.
Huh?
It took me a minute to understand what he was saying. Then he showed me the
だ
screen.
から、これ見ろ。
The screen read Takeru Miyashiro. Well, I am not kidding.
なんだよ。これ。
My phone was locked. No, wait. I called the company and had them shut off the account.
どうするんだよ、これ。なあ。
I don't know what we do with this. Why are you asking me? I don't know what to do. Should I ignore it? I promised Kurusu that I'd give up on the case. No, wait. Was now really the time for that? My mind raced, but I couldn't come up with an answer. The next thing I knew, I grabbed the phone from Ito and answered it. There was silence. As everyone held their breath and watched me, I put my ear up to the phone and heard... nothing. The phone will ring and nobody will be there. All I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat. At some point, my breathing had become shallow and pained. I leaned against a nearby desk just to give myself some means of support. The person on the other end of the phone said nothing. What do I do? What do I do? Damn it! What the hell's going on? Say something! Say something, you idiot!
誰だ
It's a good question. My voice was shaking so much, it was pathetic. Everyone was perfectly still as they watched. It was no good. I couldn't hear anything. It's the knocking.
Oi, どうした?
I dropped the phone and fell to my knees. Serika had come over towards me. I grabbed her and held her tight. I was so scared. So scared. The knocking sound I heard when I was at the hotel. I frantically rubbed the ear that had been holding up, that I'd been holding up to the phone. But it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't go away. That sound. My chest was filled with foreboding? Is that the word? Foreboding. I'd snuck into the hospital and they'd stolen my phone. Didn't that count as something really bad? I guess not enough.
9時半になりました。皆さん、よろしいでしょうか。それではこれより。
I am ready for the
第3回私立碧氷学園文化祭を開催いたします。
Yeah. Are they gonna do everyone in the school? All the students in the gym roared as soon as Kawahara finished. Cheerful music began to play in the room, and students in costumes, who probably belonged to the clubs or another, began to dance. Half of the students watched them as they laughed as they... Half of the students watched them and laughed as they left the gym. They were probably the students in charge of the classroom displays and stalls in the courtyard. Kazuki looked over at me to see if I was okay.
まあ大丈夫
Even if it was a lie, it was all I could do. It was all I could bring myself to say. I couldn't smile. Because of her talents, Kazuki was asked to handle the audio system along with me for the student council's opening ceremony. The rest of the student council, except Kawahara, as well as Serika and Ito, could have left during the ceremony to patrol the school. It was only going to get really busy when the school opened to the public at 10 a.m. about 30 minutes from now. When that happened, people from outside... hold on. I think I'm gonna hiccup. Or sneeze. I don't know. Neither. No, I'm gonna get a drink real quick. When that happened, people from outside the school would be allowed in, and many different events would be held. I had to do my job too, but I couldn't bring myself to Get out of the chair. Huh? Kazuki offered me a lollipop.
いや
She thought for a moment and took out a piece of dried squid from who knows where. What's behind your ear? What's this behind your ear? Dried squid? Ooh.
いやそうじゃなくて分かったもらうよ
I grabbed the lollipop and stood up. Katsuki stayed to handle the audio. She might have problems communicating, but there were other members of the student council, and she'd probably be fine.
ありがとな
自主映画特別棟2階視聴覚室でやってます。100円です。パンフレットタダで配布してます。
9時半から屋上のテニスコートでコメディテニスします。熱くなれよ。
Comedy tennis? How would that go? Would you say jokes while playing tennis? I ignored the advertisements and headed to my destination and stole some balloons. After that, Ito had picked up the smartphone and called the number back. But no one had picked up. There was only the message that played when you shut off your service. The customer has requested that this number be temporarily disabled. We talked for a while, but none of us had any good ideas. It was nighttime again. By 3 a.m. we'd settled on participating in the culture participating in the culture festival like normal, and then laid down on our desks to get some sleep. But I couldn't sleep. I was too nervous. So nervous, the outside got so bright even though it was nighttime. In the end, I didn't get a wink of sleep and was only half awake for the opening ceremony and final check of the class's video. In the morning, I passed Arimura in the hallway. She had the smile on her face that she wore when she was with her friends. That only made me more nervous. And I was still nervous right now. I didn't yawn even once. Not even a little bit. I could see Sarika patrolling the stalls near the gate through the open doors of the school. Come to think of it, she'd said she hadn't slept well either. If someone with her appetite was ignoring all the tasty treats for sale at the food stalls, she must have been telling the truth. Sarika had made contact with them at the hospital too. How were they able to call when I'd shut my phone off? No, I should stop thinking about it. I'd asked myself all these questions already. Why had they called Ito? How were they able to? Was there a reason they called at the start of the day? Of the new generation madness? Should I go to the police? But would they believe me? And I hadn't come up with answers to any of those questions. I could hear loud murmurs in the distance.
裏門の方渡部来てるらしいぜ。マジかよ、行ってみようぜ。
Yeah, let's go look at him. He was early. The meeting was supposed to be at 1 p.m. Oh, wait. He was going to do an article on the cultural festival itself, right?
タク行かないの？
At some point, Sarika had walked up behind me. Was she on patrol?
どうせ後で会うんだし、別にいいよ。
And suddenly, she got very close to me.
元気が足りないな。もしかしてまだ昨日のあれ気にしてる？
Maybe.
そりゃそうだろ。
I'd be crazy not to be thinking about
と
it.
いうか、お前だってさっきまで暗い顔してたじゃないか。
When I'd seen her just a second ago, she looked really glum, but for some reason she looked better now. She looked surprised that I had seen her, and then...
それはそうだけど、でもさ、だったら何かが起きる前に私たちが解決すればいいじゃんって。5人で仲良く真実を追求し解決するのが新聞部のモットーでしょ？
I never heard that motto before.
タクならできるって。
After giving me a completely baseless motivational speech, she went back to her patrol.
できるってか。
タクル、もう事件なんか追わないって約束して帰ってきなさい。手伝ってほしいことたくさんあるの。
For now, I need to get through this interview. First, there was the video to talk about, and then the sumo sticker with the different face. It would be great if I could ask Watabe what that meant too. I took a deep breath and started to go over the interview in my head.
来ないね。
He's a no-show.
渡部さん、どうしちゃったのかな。
It was already 1:15 p.m. The interview was supposed to start at 1 p.m. Everyone had heard that Watabe's famous journalist was going to be here. The audience seats in the gym were packed. There were even people standing. Everyone in the newspaper club except Kurisu had arrived and were waiting below the stage. All the preparations were complete. But there was no sign of Watabe himself.
控え室にはいたんだろ？
ああ、1時間くらい前かな。挨拶してきた。
何やってんだ？緊張してトイレか？
それは僕だ。
あ？
ここだけの話、さっきからトイレばっかり行ってる。やっぱり僕には無理だ。こんな大勢の前で対談なんて。
He's probably dehydrated now. Get some water. And then you could go to the bathroom more.
今さらなんだよ、お前。
Sure, but I couldn't help but be nervous. I wasn't any good at dealing with crowds or people I couldn't, or people I didn't know. But now I was going to have to deal with both? Take a hint!
よし、伊藤、部長の座を譲る。お前が仕切ってくれ。アホか。
I'll try. Ito laughed away any offer that I made in all seriousness. He stood up from his chair.
それにしても遅えな。みんな待ちくたびれてるじゃん。生徒会は何してんだ？
Watabe was supposed to be getting the VIP treatment, but it was the student council's job to take care of him. But with Kurisu gone, they were probably having a hard time keeping up with all their work. From what I heard, without Kurisu there to keep the peace, fights and arguments were breaking out everywhere. That only went to show how much everyone relied on her.
仕方ねえな。ちょっと呼んできてやるか。
しんちゃん待って、私も行くよ。
And everyone's leaving. Don't leave me and Kazuki here alone. Neither of us are capable of talking to anyone. What if Watabe came while you were gone? What would we do then? But Sarika and Ito went off to the waiting room without us. This was a problem.
あれれ、まだ始まってないんすね。
え？
先輩、チャオス。
Oh, it was just Arimura. Come to think of it, she'd asked me to ask Watabe about that picture.
ずいぶん遅いですね。
Mm-hmm.
はい。今、迎えに行ってるけど。
ほーん。
そうだ、有村さん。聞こうと思ってたんですけど。
なんすか？
画像のことについて渡部さんを追求してほしいんですよね。その画像ってラブホテルの力士シールのことでしょ。それには僕たちも興味を持ってるんですけど、有村さんはどこまで知ってるんですか？あれのこと。
Do you know this much? You reach your you stretch your arms out this much? Is this how much you know? Arimura looked serious for just a moment, but then she grinned.
情報量は高くつくぜ、あんちゃんよ。
$100?
お金取るんですか？
当たり前よ。キャッシュで5000万、スイス銀行に振り込んでくんな。くっくっく。
Okay, I got it. Here you go.
小学生みたいなこと言ってないで、本気で教えてください。
むか。
渡部さんにはうまく質問しますから。だから僕らにも情報を。
ねえ先輩。
はい。
何度も言ってますけど、私に敬語はいりませんよ。改めてくれるまでずっと言い続けますからね。
Well, that's hard. Okay, yeah, I'll just stop.
はい。
She changed the subject. Arimura was incredibly interested in Watabe's picture of the sumo sticker. Did she think that if I questioned him about it, she might gain some valuable information? I considered this as I watched her twin tails bounce in the air. And then suddenly, the curtain on the stage began to raise. Rise? Rise! Whee! It goes up. I could start to see the bottom of the lectern and the chairs. Lectern? Did I read that right? Huh?
ねえ、始まっちゃいますよ。伊藤先輩たちは？
There was no message from the student council, and we had no idea what to do as we watched the curtains rise.
やっとかよおい。
遅えよ渡部。
As the curtains rose, the gym was filled with cheers and boos of the students.
人、おのえ、何してんだよ。早く戻ってこいって。
あれ？
Suddenly, Arimura spoke.
どうしたの？
見てください。なんか変です。
What's wrong? Oh, nobody's here. That's what's wrong. It's all empty, but we can hear everyone. Hey, that door up there's open. Both those doors are open. Let's let's go in the doors. Here and then do this. Oh wait, I gotta resize. Oh, I'm still really. Here we go. Boop 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 boop. And then go in there. Yeah, winning. Okay. Okay. I'll stand on this right here. Oh, I'll make a basket. Whee! Okay. Do all this? Yeah. She pointed to the stage. I looked up toward it.
Huh?
What's on the stage? A guy. Watabe had come up up the stage and was walking toward the podium. But he was staggering and struggling to stay up, and he looked like he was in pain. There was thick sweat on his forehead, and something that looked like drool was dripping from his lips. It's okay, you could do it. But what was even stranger was his stomach. How would you describe it? The spot between his ribs and his hips, right where his stomach and intestines would be, was all swollen up. You could hear you could hear the word beer belly a lot, but it was worse than that. It was as if someone had stuck a giant rubber ball under his shirt. The students saw this and started to whisper. Their voices grew louder and louder. His moans grew louder as he reached the center of the stage. Just listening to them was enough to make you go crazy.
何ですか？あれ？何なんですか？
わからない。
The whole gym, including the three of us, started to get louder. Everyone, we're gonna hear all their individual screams, including mine. Eek! Eek! The student screams echoed in my ears. Some people were trampled in the mad dash for the exit. But as everyone else was panicking, Arimura and I stood there in silent shock.
あれは
Was Something was pouring out of Watabe's mouth, mixed with his blood and stomach fluids. It had a face. Of course, it isn't Watabe's face. It was something we'd seen many times before. What was it? I knew it well, but it took me a few seconds to understand. And then... Ah! No!
歴史シール
Arimura began to scream. Began to scream, her voice joining the cacophony created by the other screaming students. October 10th, 2015, Saturday. 12:28 p.m. In an unused classroom in Hekio Academy.
何もないところですいませんが、ここでお待ちいただけますか。
いえ、早く来てしまったのはこちらですから。
Watabe bowed, and the man who led him here from the teacher's office bowed back. Then the man left the room. He'd forgotten the man's name as soon as he heard it. All he remembered was he was the typical high school teacher with somewhat delicate features. That was all Watabe needed, though. That was all Watabe thought he needed to know.
しかし、なんでもねえところだな。
He'd heard that Hekio was famous, but once he'd gotten inside, he found that it was just a normal high school, maybe a little cleaner than most. He'd seen a TV crew from some station interview, and wait, hold on, I'm gonna reread that. He'd seen a TV crew from some station interview a student on his way here, but he couldn't imagine there was anything worth asking.
まあ、多少は見どころのある奴らもいるみたいだが。
Since his ostensible reason for being here was to do an article on the cultural festival, he had taken a few pictures. Since it didn't matter what picture he took, he decided to just walk through the school. As he went by a class a class that was doing some kind of Garofroggy cafe, there was a bit of a fuss. Student after student had asked him for handshakes and autographs. Almost the entire class had known his name. He'd even taken a selfie with a girl who said she was a huge fan of his. When he'd told her to keep it a secret, she'd given him an innocent smile. That was the way it should be. That was the way normal people were supposed to act.
もっと上に行ってやれ。
It was only a short while ago that an online friend of his had suggested he'd come here. When he'd been putting together what he'd found out about the sumo stickers, those fucking brats at the newspaper club had published just before he did. He'd given up on publishing his own article, but at least decided to show it somewhat. When he'd let his friends see it, they'd suggested he publish it anyway. True, he was confident in the article itself. He'd gotten a very good picture of the sumo sticker at the Love Hotel, which the newspaper club had already been able to get from a distance. There was a chance he'd be called out for plagiarism, but Then his friend had continued. You're capable of turning that into an advantage, right? His friend knew him well. Everything would depend on how he handled the interview, but Watabe was confident you could use this to bolster his fame. The ideal result would be to show that the newspaper club were the only ones who had copied him. They uploaded their newspaper to Nikanya all the time, so they were sure to know who he was. If he offered them the chance to help with his article, they'd jump on it, no matter what he did, no matter what demands he made. He started off at the very bottom, and he'd worked his way up this far. He was capable of getting any scoop he wanted. His power was a blessing from heaven for a man who wanted to be a first-rate journalist. In the whole history of journalism, there had never been a case where a net reporter had identified a suspect ahead of the cops, the news, or the magazines. With a writer at a weekly magazine had found a suspect before the police, the whole of Japan went into an uproar. Watabe wanted to surpass that. His one worry was the Love Hotel incident. When he charged into the crime scene and gotten into a fight with the cops there, his camera had gotten out of focus and he'd failed to get part of their sumo stickers. He'd used that to get this scoop, but if someone on the police force was paying attention to those stickers, and if they were enough of a weirdo to be paying careful attention to Watabe's articles, they might find something strange. People didn't really want to hear the truth. They wanted lies that sounded true, embellished so that they were all the more pleasing. When he heard the sound, he quickly flipped himself back into hard-working, good-natured reporter mode. There will be a knocking on the door, and nobody will be there. They didn't open the door, nor did they say anything. Watabe grunted soft enough that they couldn't hear, and then put a smile as he went to answer the door. Who is it? 'Tis a raven and nothing more. Oh wait, is that how the poem goes? I don't know. Yeah, I also don't know. we get to hear everybody scream. The students all started to panic at once, and the gym was filled with screams. Then Watabe's body fell to the floor as if in slow motion. His legs were splayed. His eyes were wide open, still full of the terror of death. He was weeping tears of blood, and
あれは
そんな。
What?
歴史シール。
Yes, it was a huge pile of sumo stickers. Watabe was probably already dead, but there were still crumbled sumo stickers pouring out of his mouth. My heart was racing. Beads of cold sweat formed on my back. I felt a scream welling up in my throat, but something held it back.
警察。電話。
Watabe's eyes were motionless, pointing toward nothing in particular. I wanted to look away from this madness, but I couldn't.
警察って何番？そうだ、117。
No, wait. The police were. Wait. What was it? Maybe it was 119?
おい。
When we heard the voice, we were finally able to tear our eyes away from Watabe's body. There was a female student making her way toward us, past the crowd, feeling towards the exits. A female student? No, she felt too grown up for that. And she was wearing a white lab coat. Between that and the sharp look in her eyes, part of me thought she might be a coroner?
一体何があった？
I don't know. She slowly looked around the gym. Her gaze stopped at Watabe's body.
あれは。
And then, without moving an eyebrow, she said,
やったのはお前たちか？
No, I didn't do that. That wasn't me. It was somebody else. Her words. What? We're on chapter 4 already?
なるほどな。じゃあ被害者渡部さんは時間になっても体育館に現れなかったと。
はい。
そこで宮代くんと和樹さん、それから有村さんが待っていたところ、彼がいきなり舞台に上がってきて、そこで事件は起きた。間違いないね。
Uh-huh.
はい。
After that, things happened fast. The black-haired woman called Detective Shinjo, who was who contacted the police station. Since our club was supposed to have an interview with him, we were questioned in our club room. During the questions, we could hear students yelling outside and the sound of dozens of patrol car sirens. But soon it all faded back into silence. The police had probably sealed off the whole school. There had been no announcements about what was going to happen with the cultural festival. But after what had happened, there was no way it would be shut down.
で、
Yeah, no
伊
way.
藤君と尾上さんは事件の前に渡部さんの控え室へ行ったんだよね。渡部さんとは会わなかったのかい？
Huh? Am I a suspect? That's what that's what Ito must have thought because he suddenly started acting strange.
でも控え室には誰もいなかったんす。な、尾上。
部屋は空っぽでした。
生徒会の役員は渡部さんの世話をしてたはずだろ。
それもいなかったです。
Serika must have been surprised by the sudden question, because she started fiddling with her Garo Froggy cell phone strap.
おいお前。不愉快な音を立てるな。うるさい。ごめんなさい。
She must have only just realized that she was doing it, because she quickly took her hand away from the strap.
この絵落ち着け。誰もお前を疑ったりしないって。
ありがとう、タク。
有村さん、二人の言ってることは本当かな。
ええ、嘘じゃないですね。本当に誰もいなかったみたいですよ。
There was no doubt in her voice. From the look on her face, you'd think she knew the whole story. And for some reason, Shinjo seemed to believe her.
そうか、了解だ。
He believed every word Arimura had said during the entire questioning. It was kind of strange. Did the two of them trust each other that much?
一応聞いておくが、有村さん、君は体育館に行く前は何をしていたんだ？
何言ってるんですか？直前まであなたたちと一緒にいたはずですけど。もしかして忘れてます？もしそうなら脳の精密検査を受けることをおすすめしますけど。
いや、もちろん分かっているさ。ただ、念のためというやつで。
Shinjo scratched his head as if he didn't know how to respond. I take that back. There clearly wasn't any trust between the two of them. In fact, he didn't seem to know how to handle her. Then, why would he trust what she said? Something felt strange. And then there was one more thing. Arimura had said that she was with Shinjo until right before she came to the gym. But there had been barely any time between Watabe's appearance on the stage and Shinjo's arrival. So, what had Shinjo been doing at the culture festival?
まさか最初から何かが起こると予想してた。
And then he'd gotten in touch with Arimura ahead of time?
状況から考えると、君たちが彼の死に関与していることはなさそうだ。しかし、そうなると誰が？
Who killed Watabe and how?
渡部さんが舞台に上がってきたとき、怪しい人を見たりしていないか？
はい。誰も。
君はどうだ？
The black-haired girl had been leaning against the wall with her arms crossed. She looked up.
残念ながら、私が駆けつけた時、現場はパニック状態だったからな。
Her voice was as mature and calm as her appearance. She was probably a third-year student, but I'd never seen her around the school before. Maybe the white lab coat was because she was part of the biology club or science club, but what would a student be doing here with a detective?
まったく、面倒なことだ。お前たちが犯人だったら簡単に済んでよかったんだが。それ、どういう意味です？どうもこうも、そのままの意味だ。 私からすればあなたの方が怪しいですけど。
私は犯人じゃない。ほら、どうだ。私が嘘をついているかどうか、お前が一番よくわかっているはずだが。
Arimura was clearly annoyed. But the black-haired girl didn't seem to care in the slightest.
まあまあ、久野里さん、それくらいにしといてくれ。
Her name was Kunosato. Then, evidently, she knew Arimura. But it was clear from their conversation that the two of them didn't get along. And for some reason...
お前。
Me?
はい、僕ですか。
他に誰がいる？
それは。
さっきから何をジロジロ見ている？
いえ、別に。
だったら下でも向いていろ。鬱陶しい。
I didn't know why, but Kunosato seemed to have it out for me. Have it out for me too, not just Arimura. What did I do? I'd never met this girl before. Why would she act like this? Why not? Or was I wrong? And we'd actually met somewhere before. Did I do something to tick her off then? It was no good. I tried to remember and couldn't. But strangely, it felt like I'd heard that voice somewhere before. But where? It was really bugging me. There was nothing so useless as information. That I'm gonna start the sentence over. There was nothing so useless as information that was inside you, but that you couldn't retrieve when you needed it. Information was only valuable if you could use it.
とにかくもう一度確認させてくれ。君たちは舞台の下で対談を待っていた。だが、いくら待っても渡部さんは現れず、伊藤君と尾上さんが様子を見に行った。それをしばらくして、突然渡部さんが舞台に上がってきて、そこで倒れた。間違いないね。
Yeah.
はい。
I feel like there's something wrong in there. Just cause. What? I suddenly remembered the way Watabe had looked. His eyes were out of focus, but full of terror. He was weeping tears of blood. His hand was stretched out as if seeking help. And the sumo stickers poured out of his mouth, covered in blood and vomit. It was a bizarre scene. I looked over at Arimura, and she must have remembered it too, because she was wincing.
両目から出血。口からは異物を嘔吐か。吐き出したのは力士シールと呼ばれる妙なシールだったな。検視は進んでいるのか、新庄さん。解剖はいつ行われる？
子供たちの前でそこまでは。
子供たちの前か。
Kunosato snorted, annoyed.
とにかく君たち新聞部には 全員ちゃんとアリバイがある。心配しなくていいからな。
I breathed a sigh of relief. Even if I knew I was innocent, I'd still be terrified of being arrested anyway.
君と有村君、それと和樹君は事件を間近で見た目撃者だ。申し訳ないが、所轄の担当者が資料を作るのに協力してほしいと言ってる。
はいはい。やだって言ってもどうせ連れてくんですよね。
いや、別に君たちは被疑者じゃないから、あくまでも協力をだね。
この前もそんなこと言ってましたけど。
しかし、なんだろうな、君たちは。
Shinjo burst his. Oh, brushed! He burst his hand. Shinjo brushed his hand through his bangs. He hadn't cut his hair for a while.
何がです？
前回の柿田さんの事件といい、先日の彼女、クルス・ノノさんの死傷事件といい、ここのところ怪しい事件といえば必ず君たちが関わっている。これは偶然なんだろうか。
それは。
He was right. Even ignoring what happened to Kurisu was... this was another potential homicide. Like, revolving dead. But we were just innocent bystanders. I knew that better than anyone.
僕たちは本当にたまたま。
たまたま
Yeah, a coincidence. Kuresato interrupted me.
本当にたまたまなのか。お前たちが気づいていないだけで何かある可能性は、事件を呼び寄せるような何かが。
I hadn't considered that. It could be... It's very possible. I tried to say something back to her, but couldn't. Her eyes were that cold when she looked at me. Damn it. What was with this girl? I was starting to get angry, and that was enough to get me to open my mouth.
僕、あなたに何か。
なんだ
But I regretted it immediately. She was scary.
その。
言いたいことがあるならはっきり言え。時間の無駄だ。
じゃあ聞かせてもらいます。けど、その僕、あなたに何かしましたか？
ああ？
そのなんだかすごく嫌われてるような。いや、僕の気のせいだったら、すみません。
気にしない方がいいですよ、先輩。この人は誰に対してもこんな感じですから。
To everyone? Was that true? That was okay then?
誰に対してもというのは違うな。お前たちに対してだけだ。
お前たち？
ああ、そうだ。お前たちだ。
Now what do you mean by that? Did she mean me and Arimura? Or...
もしかして以前どこかで。
いや、お前のその新規臭い顔を見るのは初めてだ。
Then she disappeared. Damn it! Then why did she have to be such a bitch?
とにかく手口から見て今回の事件もこれまでの猟奇事件との関連性が疑われる。
ニュージェネの狂気の再来すか？
Yep, it's happening all over again. The strange way that Watabe had died. And then the fact that today was October 10th. Just like Shinjo said, it was possible that there was a connection.
司法解剖の結果を待たなければ断定はできないが、 日付と犯行の異常性は一致する。ところで、宮代君、聞いてもいいか？
はい。
Yeah.
何でしょうか？
Question.
あのボードは君たちが？
I sure did. All on my own. I drew all the pictures. Just kidding, they were printed out. Shinjo was looking at the map that we'd put together to follow the case.
はい、そうですけど。
ちょっと見せてもらってもいいかな？
Shinjo stood up without waiting for my answer and walked over to the board. Kurusato moved away from the wall and followed him.
これ、どう思う？
そうだな。
The two of them started to whisper to each other. I tried to listen in, but I couldn't make it out. With nothing else to do, I whispered to Arimura, "Oh no, I dropped something." Okay, I got it back.
あのさ、あの久野里って人、うちの生徒なのか？
For some reason, Arimura was staring at me in surprise.
僕、何か変なこと言った？
いえ、先輩がタメ口だったから。
I must have been so distracted by everything else that was going on that I didn't think.
ごめんなさい、つい。
いえ、そのままでいいです。私は前からそうしてくれと言ってましたし。
わかりまし。じゃなくて、わかったよ。有村さん。
有村。
え？
ん？
さんもつけなくていいです。
わかった。有村。
First, the two of us had been together at the scene of Watabe's death, and now we had that strange, arrogant woman angry at us. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Maybe that's why I was finally able to talk to her normally.
それで、何の話でしたっけ？
I don't know.
あ、だからあの人。
The two of them were still talking about something in front of the map I'd made.
知らないんですか？先輩と同じ3年生だそうですよ。と言っても、ほとんど学校に来たことないらしいですけど。
学校に来ないって、不登校ってこと？
さあ、私もそこまでは。
So, she was in my grade, but I was sure I'd never seen her at school. Ito and Kurusu had a lot of connections. Would they know her?
っていうか、そもそも何者なんだ？僕たちのこと嫌ってるみたいだけど。
さあ。
さあって、知り合いなんだろ？
私も、この前会ったばかりで詳しいことは知りません。ただ。
Just a phone? Our conversation was cut off by the sudden sound of a phone. Shinjo took his phone out of his pocket. It was an old Japanese flip phone. Who still used one of those in 2015? Man, what about in the year 2024? Would you still think that? I started to worry about whether a Remzor Yaks, yeah. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. I'm sorry. I tried to read it. started to worry about whether a wrong-sider like that was capable of solving this case at all. Hi, hello, how's it going?
あ、そうか。わかった。それじゃあ。
Someone must have told him to go somewhere. He folded up his phone and put it back in his pocket, then turned to face us.
俺たちは先に失礼する。君たちの迎えは少し後になると思うが、くれぐれも協力頼むな。
はあ。
わかりました。
だから、そうめんどくさそうな顔するなって。時間がかからないように手は打っておく。それじゃ、頼んだぞ。
Now we're looking at the door. Shinjo motioned to Kunosato, and the two of them left the room. As she left, Kunosato gave us one last cold glance. And then the room fell silent. There's that cricket. No one felt like talking, so we started to take out our phones and read magazines. He'd said it would be a while before the police would arrive to pick us up. The only thing we could do was kill time. You can still call me Rimsey. Okay. Rimsey. I'm also good. How are you? Yay, that's good. I'm doing good.
Na.
I tried to talk to Arimura, but she either didn't hear me or was ignoring me. She was playing with her phone too. She seemed to be trying to get in touch with someone. It looked like she had a lot of friends, so she may have been asking what happened with the culture festival.
もう一度事件の整理をしてみるか。
ねえ、タク。
Serica stopped me as I started to head for the wait, hold on, I can read it. Serica stopped me as I started to head for the board.
どうしたおのえ。
能力者ってなんだろうね。
は？
Psychic? Wait, psychic? Like those con artists you see running dingy little shops? Couldn't be.
なんだそれ。ラノベかなんかの話か。
さっき、新藤さん？
新庄さんか？
さっき新庄さんが制服の上に白衣着た人とそんなことを。
お前、二人の話聞こえたのか？
They weren't that far away. Just kidding, but like, I don't know. It was true that the two of them had been mumbling it in front of the board. I could barely hear it, but Serica was evidently able to make out the words from where she was sitting.
歴史シールの不可思議な現象とか、能力者がなんとかとか、事件に関係あるのかなって。
If they were talking about it now, then of course I had something to do. Then of course it had something to do with the case. But still, psychics? Like a mind reader or something? Or someone who could move stuff with his brain? They didn't think this was all being caused by psychics with superpowers or something, did they?
いくらなんでも警察がそん
聞き間違いじゃないのか？
Both Ito and Kazuki were looking at her questioningly.
そうかな。確かにそんな風に聞こえたんだけど。
なあ有村、何か心当たりはないか？
She'd spent time with Shinjo. Maybe she knew, but
有村、
ああ、何ですかそれ。私アニメとか見ないんで。
she didn't seem really interested. Well, that's what most people our age would think when they heard the word psychic.
尾上、他に何か聞こえなかったか？新庄さんたちの話。
他にはね、
She was about to open her mouth. But then the sound of the door opening cut her off. Who is it?
おーい、宮代くん、和樹くんいる？それに有村くんも。
先生。
よーしよし、おとなしくしてるね。そろそろ警察に行くよ。
え？警察の人が迎えに来るんじゃ。
引率係だよ。君たちは別に犯罪者じゃないし、あくまでもうちの生徒だからね。警察に呼ばれたなら僕が連れて行くのが筋だと思って。どうだい？僕っていい教師だろ？
As if he'd ever actually done anything for us as our advisor. But still, I felt a little relieved.
それじゃ行こうか。ああ、伊藤くんと尾上くんはすぐに帰宅すること。いいね。
Immediately? Right now? The two of them started to get ready.
先生。
なんだい？
その、文化祭はどうなるんでしょうか？
さあ、今ちょうど会議中でどうなるかはまだわからないね。
That's all he said before he left the room. It was strange. Why had I asked
文化
that?
祭なんて別にどうでもよかったのにな。
嘘ね。
Am I? There she goes. Lying? How? I wanted to ask what she meant, but it was clear she wasn't going to tell me. She followed... What? Wakui? She followed Wakui out into the hallway.
どうかした？宮代くん。
I could hear him from outside the room. Kazuki made a let's go gesture and looked at my face. There was something that I wanted to know, no matter what. What Sirika had just said about Shinjo and Kunosato. Seriously, discussing the word psychics? Makoi's entrance had interrupted our conversation, but I wasn't sure if it was okay to really write the idea off as a silly nonsense.
すみません。これから警察行くなら結構時間かかりますよね。
そうなるだろうね。
だったら貴重品とかまとめて持って行ってもいいですか？置きっぱなしっていうのもなんなんで。
ああ、確かに。有村くん、君も自分の教室へ行って持ってきなさい。 僕は昇降口で待ってるから。
はい。
I listened to the two of them walk away. Okay. That should buy me a little time.
おい、尾上。
お、どうしたのタク。
し、さっきの話の続きだけどな。聞かせてくれないか？
More what? Where's the target? Being questioned for their involvement in the case. A suspect? It appears unlikely, but they finally have noticed. Understood. Continue. Of course. October 10th, 2015, Saturday. What time is it? Oh, they didn't say what time. Shinjo grimaced. The smell of death was enough to make him nauseous. Tomokai Watabe's body had been taken to a university hospital and put on an autopsy table less than 2 hours after his death. Normally, the autopsy would never be held this quickly. There was paperwork that needed to be filled, and the family needed to agree. But Watabe's death was so bizarre that a cause of death needed to be found as soon as possible. Shinjo had taken a hard line with his superiors and used rather forceful methods to get the family's permission to perform a lightning-fast autopsy. The police force as a whole seemed determined to avoid a repeat of the failures 6 years ago. But what was truly unexpected was Kunisato's statement that she would attend the autopsy as well. Since she couldn't let a civilian, especially a high school girl, attend an autopsy unsurprised, he'd been forced to go with her. The hospital's... Oh, unsupervised! That's what the word was! Oh my goodness! The hospital's autopsy room was kept clean and very different from the musty atmosphere you often saw in foreign movies. But to Shinjo, the invisible smell of death was still thick in the air. It was nothing like seeing a body at a crime scene. It was almost physically uncomfortable. But Mayo Kunasato was... that's not even the word that was there! But... Hold on, I'm gonna get a drink of water. But Mayo Kunasato was nearly... Oh, I did it again? We'll just start. As nearly... Hold on. There we go, I'm back. As nearly as he could tell, didn't seem bothered at all. Shicho and Kunasato were watching the autopsy from the waiting room next door, and the wall had glass to allow them to see into the room. The external and internal examinations had been completed, and now they were opening up the stomach for examining it.
君はこうなることを予見していたのか?
No.
今日わざわざ渡部の対談を見に行くと言い出したのはなぜだ? それどころか有村ひなえにも渡部と接触するよう昨日から指示していたんだろう? まさか 実は君が黒幕だとかいうオチはやめてくれよ。
そうできるならそうしてもいいかもな。
Shinjo couldn't tell if she was serious or not. He'd spent the last several days with her, but he still had no idea what she was thinking.
渡部が殺されるかもしれないという予感はあった。予感を確信に変えるために有村に接触するように指示したんだ。だがまさか今日殺されるという予想はしていなかった。
有村ひなえが渡部に接触すると何がわかるんだ？
She didn't answer him. Even though he was sharing police information with her, would it really kill her to be a little more cooperative?
渡部はあの若さでスクープを連発しすぎていたと思わないか？
Scoops? Like ice cream scoops?
それが何か?
Just as he spoke, he heard a muffled moan from the coroner. There were microphones in the autopsy room that would let them hear anything said there.
どうしたんだろう?
Shinjo pounded on the glass and motioned for the coroner to explain. The coroner nodded and moved the body so that they could see it better, then held up a pair of tweezers. He unplugged it. I'm just adding letters to things. He plunged. Oh, it wasn't even. That's okay. He plunged the tweezers into Watabe's open abdomen. From where Shinjo and Kunasato were standing, they couldn't see inside. The tweezers seemed to grab something. What is it? That was all he said as he lifted up the tweezers. And what was between them was... What is it? A sumo sticker in excellent condition. Why not? What is it supposed to look like? Just kidding. It was twisted, or... It wasn't twisted or broken. The sticker was almost entirely intact. Suddenly, Kunasato opened the door leading into the autopsy room. Yeah, I don't think you could do that. You couldn't go in there without changing your clothes or disinfecting yourself. He tried to tell her that, but gave up. It was more important to find out what the coroner had seen. So she followed her in. Hold on, I can do this. So he followed her in, even though he knew he wasn't supposed to. The coroner said nothing. He just stood silently holding his tweezers. Even Kunasato was shocked by what she saw in the body. So was Shinjo. And so was I. Even though I don't know what's in there. Just kidding, I think I know. He covered his mouth with a handkerchief. It was just too bizarre. Watabe's stomach was so swollen, it seemed to burst. And inside the stomach, he could see not just dozens, but hundreds of sumo stickers.
まだちゃんと確認はしていないが、食道にも異常なほどの膨張が見られる。シールが途中で詰まっている可能性が高い。
考えられる死因は？
窒息死だろうな。
つまりこういうことか。渡部は窒息するほど何枚も何枚も何枚も力士シールを飲み込んでいたと。
No one, not Shinjo or the coroner, said a word. Anyway, moving on. By the time Kazuki and I got back from the police, the school looked completely different. It all vanished. The bustling school building was now almost completely empty. All the police tape was gone except for the gym where the death had occurred. They must have finished their examination of the area. From the look of things, if I went back to the club room, I probably wouldn't find anyone, but for now...
Huh?
ああ、タク、花ちゃん、おかえり。
Wow.
なんだ、思ったより早かったな。
Sarika and Ito were there.
有村は？
警察からまっすぐ帰った。もしかして僕たちを待っててくれたのか？
誰が好き好んで野郎を待たなきゃいかんのだ。和樹のことを待ってたんだよ。
Kazuki gave Kazuki gave Ito a little bow.
花ちゃん、騙されちゃダメだよ。しんちゃんは片付けに時間がかかってるだけだから。ん？
こらこら、言うなお前は。
Well, that's what I figured, but I felt a little, no, a lot better. I could still see that awful corpse when I closed my eyes. Since I hadn't eaten anything since this morning, there was nothing to go up my throat but stomach acid. Because of that, my esophagus was starting to hurt. Just being able to talk to everyone like this made me feel a lot better.
あ、でも片付けってことはやっぱ中止なのか、学祭。
うん、タクが出てった後、アナウンスがあって。
そっか。もしかしたら延期って可能性もあるかと思ったんだけど。
ま、しゃあねえわな。なんたって殺人だからな。
And since it might have to do with all the other strange deaths, the school probably didn't have much of a choice.
で、お前らの方はどうだったんだよ。犯人扱いとかされなかったか？大丈夫か？
なんで僕が疑われるんだよ。むしろ重要な目撃者だぞ。
だからじゃねえか。ミステリーで目撃者っつったら容疑者確定だろ。
刑事ドラマの見過ぎだって。
But still, just like Shinjo had said earlier, it would make sense if they suspected me, I think. This was the second time after Revolving Dead incident that someone had died near me.
それにしてもさ、本当に今日事件が起こるなんてな。これで俺たちの推測は当たってたってことだな。
そうだな。
I leaned my tired body back into a chair and looking at the map on the wall. Now there was even more evidence. We could be certain at this point that what happened this morning was in some way related to the new generational madness. But I didn't know who had done it or why. The sumo stickers that made me sick every time I saw them were the only clue we
しか
had.
も今回の渡部の殺人には それが直接凶器として使われていた。
は？なんだって？
To be honest, I didn't really want to remember that. There was no way to know to know this unless you experienced it for yourself. But seeing something in a video and seeing it in person were two radically different things. The biggest difference was smell. And even if there was no blood, like this morning, there was still a unique stench in the air. Part of it was the smell of vomit and ex and ex I can read it. I can read it. I can do it. I and the excrement that slid out of the body after the muscles had relaxed. But it was more than that. There was a unique stench the bodies I can read. The bodies of the dead possessed. The smell of death, you might call it. Whenever I saw the body in my mind, I also remembered that scent.
警察の話だと、渡部の死因は窒息死だよな。口の中に例のシールがいっぱいだったんだろ？
Wait, how'd they get that information so fast? Because they just said that like a little bit ago. How does time work?
シールを口に入れられて喉に詰まっちゃったのかな。
犯人はなんでそんなことしたんだ？つうかさ、そもそも今までの事件と犯人が同じだと思うか？
Probably.
どういうこと？
だってなあ。
Ito stopped and shrugged. He knew what he was... I knew what he was trying to say. If we assumed that all these incidents were related, compared to Don't Look at Me, Leaky Noise, and Revolving Dead, this murder seemed very different. The killer jammed sumo stickers in the victim's mouth until he choked. It was cruel, sure. It also felt sloppy, brutal, and crude. But...
僕だって最初はそう考えたよ。警察から話を聞くまではね。でも。
When I was leaving the station, I heard the cops talking about the results of the autopsy. They said Watabe's stomach was filled to burst with sumo stickers. So this case was every bit weird as the other three. I tried to get out of the chair, but I was still a little tired, so I staggered a bit.
すべての事件の特徴を順を追って見てみると、今回の事件も明らかに同一の事件に属するものじゃないかと思えるんだ。
これまでの事件と共通点があるってこと？
それを聞いてほしい。順を追って話す。
That's right. What I was about to explain included a critical factor that we'd never even considered before. It was what I'd talked to Serika about before I left for the police station.
さっきの話の続きだけどな。聞かせてくれないか？
さっきの話？
言ってたろ。新庄さんと黒里さんの話。能力者とか不可思議なこととか。
ああ、なんだっけ。そうそう、なんかね、変なんだって。これまでの事件が。
そりゃ変だろ。だからこそ僕たちだって追っかけてるわけだし。
ああ、そういう意味じゃなくてね。 死んだ被害者の人たちが。最初の犠牲者、こっちみんなの人のニア生のタイトル知ってるよね。
俺し未来が見えてしまう件だろ。
本当にね、その未来を予知できたのかもって。
は？
That's crazy. Was it some kind of joke?
で、次の音漏れ弾なんだけど、ライブに来てた人が変だったんだって。
変ってどういう意味だ？
なんか熱に浮かされてたみたいな感じ。歌自体は大したことないんだけど、歌声に取りつかれたみたいな。
なんだよそれ。よくわかんないな。
そんなこと言われても、そう言ってたんだもん。
まあいい。で、次の回転デッドは？
バイトなのに業績がすごく良かったって。
それは単に有能だっただけじゃないのか？
そうなんだけどね。なんかこう、相手の望んでることがわかるっていうか、もしかしたら盗聴でもしてるんじゃないかって陰で言われてたみたい。私が聞いたのはこれで全部だけど。
いや、上出来だ。よくそこまで聞き取ってくれたな。
もしかして役に立つ？
ああ。
Shinjo and Kunisato were talking very softly, so I hadn't been able to hear it at all. It was definitely thanks to Sarika that we had this information. But still.
能力？そんなまさか。
おーい、宮代くん、まだなのか？
Who's saying that? Where are they?
あ、すみません。すぐ行きます。
Oh, it's a flashback. After what I heard from talking to Sarika, it was unbelievable, but if I looked at all the cases, so far in light of that,
全てを確かめるためにもう一度事件を整理してみるから見ててくれ。
I turned to face the board on the wall. When I did so, I could feel strength coming back to my hold on, I'm gonna redo that. When I did so, I could feel strength coming back to my tired body and mind. Good. I was fine. What happened this morning hadn't made me afraid. Everyone looked at the map of Shibuya, even Kazuki.
なんだ？円数2をプレイするんじゃないのか？
For some reason, Kazuki always participated when we used this. Well, whatever. I should start with the first case. The keys were what I'd heard from Sarika before going to the police station, and what I knew about the victims. Together, they implied that... What's it? No, wait. That can't be right. Actually, there were a lot of things that could only be explained that way. My mind raced, and soon I felt a curiosity welling up within me that overrode the terror and disgust I'd felt when when I was at the scene of the murders. Yeah.
ありそう
Oh.
だ。信じられないけれど、ありえる。
It was a stupid idea, maybe. But if it were true, it would be incredible. It would change everything we thought we knew about the world.
なんだよ。気持ち悪いな。急に変な笑い声出すなよ。
だってね、なんかいつものタクに戻ったなって。
Now that I thought about it, I'd gotten so excited that I'd forgotten the nightmare I forgot the nightmare we were going. I forgot the nightmare that were going on around me. I should go back on topic. Get back on topic. Oh my god.
直接犯人には繋がらないかもしれないけど、事件の全容を知る上で、いや、ひょっとしたら世界の常識を覆すような大きな共通点に。
They're all here. I forgot. I thought they left. I could see Kazuki gasp in surprise.
マジかよ。
Everyone was looking at me as I explained everything in turn.
まず今回の渡部氏殺害事件がニュージェネの狂気の再来と呼ばれる一連の事件の延長線上にあるという話。
That's a long name for that.
でもよ、さっきも言ったけど、ただの窒息死なんだろ？
My cat's here. She's probably gonna start climbing or meowing. Whatever she feels like doing.
いや違う。渡部の死因は確かに窒息死だけど、単に口の中いっぱいに力士シールを詰め込まれて死んだわけじゃない。
どういうことだ？
I stopped for a moment and took a deep breath. I knew that when I imagined it, I was going to shiver.
彼は力士シールを胃の中までいっぱいに詰め込まれて死んだらしい。
Wait, but how do they know this already? Is this the next day? I don't... Everyone's eyes went wide. I could tell that they were trying to figure out the meaning of what I just said.
それって。
そう。力士シールを無理やり、それも噛み砕くことなく原型を残したまま大量に飲み込んで、あるいは飲まされて、それが原因で窒息して死んだ。そういうことになる。
そいつはまた。
雑どころじゃないんだ。むしろあまりにも変質的なんだよ。
だったら確かに今回の事件も一連の事件と同じ流れの中にあるってことになるわけか。
I nodded, then wrote a brief outline of Watabe's death and pinned it to the map. Bunk.
だがな、宮代。それがさっき言ってた世界の常識を覆すほどの共通点なのか？
いや、今のはただ渡部氏殺害事件が連続殺人事件の一環であるということを確認しただけで、もちろん本題はこの先にある。
I stopped talking for a second, then looked around at everyone's faces. And then I zoomed in.
こっちみんなと呼ばれている第一の事件の被害者、大谷優馬。彼は未来がわかると言っていた。
んなのただの煽り文句だろ。
いいから最後まで聞けって。
Ito shrugged and stopped talking.
第2の事件、音漏れた被害者高柳百音の歌声には妙な魅力があったってファンは口を揃えて証言してる。聞いているだけでトランス状態になれるって。
うんうん、あの刑事さんそんなようなことを言ってた。
クラブとかで踊ってる連中と同じだろ。音楽や歌が聴いてる人間をトランス状態にするのはよくあることだ。
人をそういう状態にするにはそれなりの条件が必要だろ。クラブなんかはそういう効果をもたらすために作られた閉鎖空間だ。でも高柳百音がストリートライブをしていた場所は違う。何の設備もない路上だ。
まあいいや、続けてくれ。
そして第3の事件、回転デッドの被害者柿田博則。彼はまるで顧客の心が読めているみたいだったそうだ。
おい、まさか。
Ito seemed to realize what I was trying to say. That's my partner for you. He's got good intuition.
渡部のあの写真、力士シールの表情が違うってことは言ったよな。
Oh, my cat's climbing me and she's getting stuck. You getting stuck. There you go. I already told everyone about the expression on the sumo stickers I'd photographed at the Love Hotel, and the one in Watabe's article were different.
最初あれはコラージュか何かだと思った。実際渡部にはそういう噂があったからな。でもどうやら違うらしいんだ。刑事に確認してみたんだよ。そしたら渡部の撮った写真には改ざんされた形跡はなかったらしい。となると考えられる可能性は
Which means there was a chance that many of Watabe's too good to be true photographs weren't taken with a camera. He probably used some sort of psychic photography. Oh. I wrote everything that occurred to me down on a memo and pinned it to the map. Ito laughed as I put it up.
いやいや、
What are you
待て
laughing
って。いくらなんでもそりゃないだろ。
しんちゃん、今のでわかったの
Kazuki seemed irritated that Ito had figured out the answer before her. She started banging on the wall like she always did.
おい、これやめとけ。
要するに宮代はこう言いたいんだ。今回の事件の被害者に共通するのは全員不可解とも思える現象を引き起こしていたという点だ。それが意味するのは
Uh-huh. They... Yes. And that means they... And then we do this. Oh, wait. I choose one. That means they used tricks to control others' minds, had special powers, were a lioness from outer space. Either had special powers or used tricks to control others' minds. Had special powers. I'm gonna do that one.
そう。彼らはみんな。
彼らは特殊な能力を持っていた。そうだな。
Ito took the words right out of my mouth.
特殊ってつまり
尾上が新庄さんから聞いた言葉で言うなら能力者、つまり超能力者ってことだよ。
超能力
超能力ってミステリー小説だったら奮発物どころか読者が怒っちまうぜ。
残念ながらこれは小説じゃない。事実だ。
だったらなおさらだよなあみんな。
Ito looked around at the others, expecting their agreement. But while Kazuki had looked surprised for a moment, she quickly returned to her usual inscrutable expression, and Sarika was excited about something completely different.
超能力ってあれでしょ？こう透明になって女子更衣室に忍び込んだりするやつ。
Huh? No. Where did that come from?
まあそういうのもあるかもしれないけど、普通はテレパシーとか。
あ、テレパシーいいな。携帯電話とかいらないから料金かからないし。
Forget it. I should just give up on trying to talk to her about anything complicated.
でもさ、超能力なんて言い始めたら何でもありだろう。それこそ誰かが遠くから超能力を使って殺人を犯したとか。
いや、超能力って言っても多分そこまで便利なものじゃないんじゃないかな。せいぜい一つの能力しか使えないとか。それに忘れてもらっちゃ困るけど、超能力者なのは犯人ではなく被害者だってことだ。
でも被害者が超能力者ってことは犯人もそうだってことも考えられるだろ
う。まあな。
That was certainly possible. Or no, it might actually be likely.
ああ、そういえばさ。
Sarika cut the two of us off. Her voice was easygoing and unconcerned.
前にアットチャンネルか何かでそういう都市伝説があるってタク言ってなかった？確か渋谷で生活してると不思議な力が身につくとか。
That's right. How could I have forgotten something so important?
ああ、それなら俺も知ってるけどさ。でもあれって地震で死んだ人の霊が取り付くとかなんとか言われてる話だろ。いくらなんでもそれはな。
霊の話は後付けで、現象だけは実際のものだとしたら。
んなこと言ってもさ。
火のないところに煙は立たないって言うよ。
火の気のないところに火をつけて回るのがアットチャンネルだろうが。
それはそうだけど。
でも尾上は聞いたんだよな、能力者がどうとか言うのは。
そうだよ。警察の人が言ってたもん。
だからってよ。
Ito still didn't seem willing to accept it. Well, I could understand that. Even I thought this was a little crazy. But for some reason, it felt like this was the explanation closest to the truth.
伊藤の言いたいこともわかる。でも仮説の一つとして考えておいてもいいとは思わないか？
それはまあ。
He fell silent. Normally, Kazuki would have gotten bored with all this talking and gone back to her computer, but today she wasn't moving. She wasn't participating in our conversation, but for once she seemed interested.
まあ、100歩譲って宮代の仮説が正しいとしようじゃないか。じゃあもう一つの共通点との関係は？
もう一つの共通点って？
力士シールだろ。
あ、そっか。
The Sewa stickers were involved in this case too. No, this time they were actually the murder weapon, you could say.
そもそもなんで全ての現場に力士シールがあるんだろうな。
普通に考えたら 殺された人が残すんだよね。ダイビングメッセージだっけ？
ダイイングな。でも今回の場合は凶器そのものが力士シールなんだから、それは当てはまらない。
となると犯人が置いてったってことだよな。自分がやったってことを分からせるためか、あるいは
誰かに何らかのメッセージを送るためか。
Which means that card would have some kind of meaning that all the victims understood. But the only thing they had in common that we know about now is that they had special powers.
あ、電話だ。
Who is it? Sarika took her phone out of her pocket and looked at the screen, then frowned and looked at me.
のんちゃんから。
What could she be calling about?
ということで、吉祥寺で今行列ができているラーメン店3つご紹介しました。どうですか？気になるお店ありましたか
？2つ目のつけ麺のお店が気になりますね。魚介スープではなく味噌ラーメン風のスープというのが新しいなと思いまして。
Yum.
そうですね。味噌といってもつけ麺用にアレンジされていて、結構さっぱりしているんですよね。
今テロップが出ていますね。速報です。今日お昼頃、フリージャーナリストの渡部智明さん22歳が
There was a large sign at the top of the screen which read, "Freelance journalist Tomokai Watabe dies violently during speech."
渋谷署では事件・事故の両方の可能性があるとして、渡部さんの死因や病気の有無など詳しく調べています。渡部さんはつい先日、渋谷で大量に貼られている力士シールと連続自殺事件に関連性があるという内容のスクープ記事を書き、注目されていました。
Whoa! What's going on? I was just like, you hear Watabe's dead? Wow, that's a shock. Yeah. Watabe, I'm gonna cry. I knew him? Oh, you knew him! No, but I thought he was great. Just a fan, huh? Lol. You seemed really smart. You know, when you look at him, he isn't. Why'd he die anyway? Yeah, why? I don't know, but that's what they were saying on Rin. Wasn't he on TV yesterday? He was. What? He was the one putting them up. Putting them up? He didn't put them up. That the sumo sticker had the new generation madness, you know? Was Watabe killed? By the people putting up the sumo stickers? Scary shit. Those eyes are God's eyes? Huh? Those eyes are God's eyes? No. The small words again. Alright, let's make this as big as we can. Dang it, that's as big as I can get it. First post. Oh! Okay, well. You just did that. No, I'm not gonna do one of these. I'm gonna skip it again. I silently looked at the building. The lights were on. I'm gonna get a drink of water. The lights were on in the room at the end of the living room on the 3rd floor, which means she was awake. I'd known she would be, but still, I couldn't help but sigh. That was the end of my last hope. After Sarika had answered the phone, she handed it to me without saying a word. Just like I expected, her voice was calm. Both me, Sarika, and Ito knew from experience that meant she was angry. She told me to come home immediately in a flat, emotional voice. I couldn't even make any excuses. I'd been hoping she'd be asleep, but sleep when I got back, but now I realized there was never any chance of that. No, I didn't know for certain that she wanted to talk about what happened today. It might be about something else. No way. That was impossible. I was 90% sure of it. I gave up and headed to Kurisu's room. When I went inside, she was sitting on the bed waiting for me.
傷に触るだろう。ちゃんと寝てないと。
また警察に連れて行かれたって聞いたんだけど。
Kurisu cut me off. Her voice was calm and level. Normally, this would have been a relief, but in Kurisu's case, it just made me feel more scared.
この情報に間違いはないわね。
誰の情報？
そんなの誰だっていいでしょ。それより本当なの？どうなの？
それは。
Kawahara's must have told her. Damn it! Why did he have to tell Kurisu of all people? I knew I was in for another lecture. No, I'd be lucky if it was just a lecture. If it was anything worse. I didn't want to think about it. If her voice was calm, it was a warning sign. I needed to proceed cautiously.
さっきから黙っているなんて一体どうしたんでしょうね。もしかしたら私の声が聞こえなかったんでしょうか。
She suddenly changed. You're kidding me. Normally, I'd get at least a little more time.
そういうことならもう一度お聞きしましょうか。先ほどのお話は。
聞こえてます。大丈夫です。
そう。だったらどうしてお返事してくれないのかしら。
I don't know.
すみません。
まあいいでしょう。それで？
はい。さっきの話は本当です。でもそれは僕のせいじゃなくて事件が起きたんだからしょうがないっていうか。ほら、クルスも知ってるだろう。渡部との対談の件。
I tried to stop my voice from shaking as I told her everything that happened that day.
そういうわけで警察に連れて行かれたのは僕たちが重要な目撃者だっただけで他には何もないから本当に。
Kurisu was watching me with extremely cold eyes the entire time I talked. I somehow managed to look back at her as I shared something that wasn't an excuse that I'd been feeling lately.
でもさ、最近なんか少しおかしいと思ってるんだ。
おかしい？何が？
最初はさ、もちろん僕たちから興味を持って事件のことを調べてた。 けど最近はその事件自体が逆に僕らを追ってきてるような、そんな気がするんだよ。
The case is coming after us. When I said that, I realized how right it felt. That was the only way I could think of to describe what to describe what had happened. I'm trying. That was the only way I could think to describe what had happened today. It was Watabe who asked for an interview with us. And Watabe had died in front of us before we'd even talked to him. We hadn't had a choice in any of it.
昨日
Kurusu opened her mouth quietly.
昨日言ってくれたわよね。
あ、
昨日考えるってそう言ってくれたわよね。
それは
I forgot to think about it. I had said that,
僕
yes.
だってそのつもりだったよ。でも今日またいろいろあって、それで新しく分かったことがあるんだよ。
分かったこと？
そうなんだ。さっき部室でみんなと話してたんだけど、今回の事件の被害者には共通点があるんだよ。その共通点とは何かっていうと、実は
And then I stopped. I wasn't sure if Kurisu would understand what I was trying to say. But I couldn't think of anything else to do, so I just told her exactly what had happened.
実は一連の事件の被害者ってみんな特殊な現象を体験してたみたいなんだよ。未来予知とか人の心を読んだりとか念写とか、つまり超能力ってことで。
超能力
Kurisu froze. She probably hadn't been expecting that.
そうなんだ。全員が何かしらの能力を持ってた可能性があって、この予想が本当なら事件そのものだけじゃなく世界的な常識を根本から覆すことになるかもしれない。これってすごいことじゃ。
And then I realized that she was acting strange. Her gentle smile had vanished, and she was sitting there expressionlessly. I realized that I'd made a mistake, but it was too late. She was just about to blow. When she got like that, it meant she was building up her anger for an explosion. The only thing I could do now was wait for the thunder to come crashing down on me. Here it comes! I closed my eyes. But I waited and waited and nothing happened. I opened my eyes and saw...
お願い
Kurisu looked weaker than I expected, than I'd ever seen her before.
タクルお願いだからこれ以上はやめてもうやめて
She reached out with shaking hands to grab my arms.
クルス。
怖いの私
え
これ以上あなたが事件に首を突っ込んで何かあったらと思うといても立ってもいられない怖くて怖くてあなたにだってわかるでしょ大切なものを失うのがどれだけ辛いことか私はもう失いたくないの家族を大切な人をだからお願いタクルそんなおかしな事件を追うのはもうやめて
Kurusu seemed so weak, like she was about to cry. I was shocked. I never thought she'd let me see her like this. I still didn't understand how much I'd been making Kurusu worry. Her hands gripped me harder, as if she was trying to stop me, as if she was clinging to me. I gasped in pain. But a gasp of pain slipped from her mouth. Maybe her wound opened again? But she kept clinging to me tightly. She held me and wouldn't let me go. I was a fool. I was such a fool. Hey, and it's April Fool's Day! Whoa! I'd gotten cocky just because I learned something new, and forgotten how much that would hurt the people close to me.
ごめん。本当にごめん。そんなに心配させてたなんて。僕。
タクル、それじゃ。
でも。
I removed Kurusu's hands as gently as I could.
一つだけやっておかなきゃいけないことがあるんだ。それだけは許してほしい。
それは大事なことなの？
うん。
私たち家族より大事なことなの？
同じくらい大事なことかな。
同じくらい。一体何がそんなに。
スマホ取り返さなきゃ。
Yep. I mean, my phone was stolen that night. Now it was in the hands of a mysterious girl who was either connected to the killer or maybe the killer herself. Whoa! Whoa! Oh! Hi! Reed, hi! Thank you! Here, let me... What? Let me do this. Oh wait, how do I do it again? Is this... Wait, did I spell it right? S... T... Oh wait, no, I didn't spell it right. Hold on. Are they supposed to be that big? Or what's supposed to be that big? Nothing, don't worry about it. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, wait, and then... A cute model, yay, thank you! This is a April Fool's model. I'm usually a cat, but today I'm just a regular... I'm a cat doll, but I'm just a regular person today. Do I need to put the capitals in there? Did that... I did it! Well, how's it going? Whoa! Alex, thank you for the follow! Epic Fool's joke, yeah! Oh yeah, what were you doing and stuff? Oh, my camera. There it goes.
Data って連絡先とか取材の成果とかでしょ？それにロックだってかけてあるって。
うん。でも、もしものことだってあるし。
If they really were psychic powers, someone might have a way to get the data off of it with their brain. And then something terrible might happen. Like what? Suddenly, the lights went off and the room was plunged into darkness. The darkness was so sudden that my eyes didn't have time to adjust. I could barely see anything.
クルスどうしたんだよおい
And power went out. But even though she was right in front of me a second ago, she didn't answer. There was only the silent
ク
darkness.
ルス返事しろよどこ行ったんだよ
She turned the lights off and ran away.
クルスノノならいない。もう殺した。
What? Suddenly, a voice came from the darkness. I turned toward it and I saw a small shadow standing there.
宮代拓だな。
お前
愚かなやつだ。余計なことに首を突っ込まなければ死ぬこともなかったろうに。
Wait. Her hands were filled with knives. The silver blades shone with bloody crimson light. No, it wasn't just the light that looked like blood. There was a liquid dripping from it. That looked just like...
違う俺は血だ本当の血だ
そうだ、血だよ。言ったろ？クルスノノを殺したと。
The girl with the knives pointed to a corner in the darkness and grinned. I saw the silhouette of something that looked like a head. It was rolling on the ground. Hold on, we just gotta stop the bleeding. And then... Kurisu!
今さら後悔しても遅いぞ、宮代拓。これはすべてお前が招いたことだ。
Ding. She smiled and started to walk toward me. I screamed out into the hallway, but there was no answer. I heard nobody call back to me.
ああ、無駄だよ。お前の妹も弟も父親もみんな殺しておいたからな。あとはお前だけだ。さっさと死ね。
What? Well... Wait.
どうしたの、タクル?
Oh, okay. I suddenly found myself back in Kurisu's room. She was reaching a hand out toward me, concerned. She'd been stabbed because of me. But she wasn't dead. She was alive. It was just a delusion. I wiped the sweat off my forehead and told Kurisu over and over again that I was just fine. If I wasn't careful, it might become real. The data on the smartphone was too dangerous. Of course, that wasn't the only reason I wanted it back. Because it had a picture. Oh, the picture we'd taken together. I hadn't told Kurisu, but I never would. Wait, I can read. I hadn't told Kurisu, and I never would. But that was my only one precious memory. The only one I had. That's why I hadn't even made a backup. And if I did, it felt like it would. I'm gonna get a drink of water. If I did, it felt like it would be if I did, it felt like it wouldn't be as special anymore. It was a picture of my family. Back when I still considered them my family. Back when things were fun. It was the one thing I owned that I really cared about.
とにかくあれだけは何としても取り返さなきゃならないんだ。
I gripped Kurisu's hand softly for a second and headed for the door. She tried to get up from the bed and buckled over from the pain. I wanted to run back and help her. I wanted to run over and get her back onto the bed, call Dad. That's what I wanted to do. But if I went back now, she probably wouldn't let me go. So I left the room and closed the door without looking back. I could hear her voice on the other side of the door. It stung a little.
また傷が開いたかもしれない。すぐに父さんを呼んでくれ。わか
った。タクラにどこ行くの？
僕にはやることがあるから。
そんな、タクラにひどいよ。ののねのそばに、ちょっとタクラにってば。
No, I have to go get my phone. I lost it. I ignored Yui's angry yells and ran out the door to get back what was important to me, my phone. I had to go back there to Tokyo General Hospital. Just kidding, there's a picture you want on there. Of course, he said that earlier. October 10th, 2015, Saturday. Kurisu stared silently at the closed door. Her heart was filled with regret. She should have tried harder to stop him. She should have ignored the wound on her stomach and clung to him harder. Fortunately, the wound didn't seem to have opened. In that instant, her father Tsukuma's words had come back to her. If you push yourself too hard and that wound opens again, it might leave a scar. His words had stopped her. And Takeru Miyashiro had left. In the end, maybe she only cared about herself. It was true that she didn't want to lose her family, but... She picked up the smartphone that had fallen to the floor when she stumbled out of bed. She opened the screen with trembling hands. On the screen was... What was it? What's on there? And it becomes night.
すまん、待たせた。
Ito saw us from across the street and ran over.
悪いな。いや、それよりも声。すまん。
Ito quickly lowered his voice.
こっちこそすまないな。こんな時間に。
タクと私たちの仲だもん。
それに、お前一人で行かせて何かあったら、女帝に殺される。
When I heard the word Empress, I remembered how desperately Kurisu had tried to stop me. I shook my head a little to drive the image out of my mind. After I'd left yesterday, I'd gone straight to AH Tokyo General Hospital. This time, I wouldn't be able to just blunder in like I had when I'd snuck into the psych ward. I'd spent a whole night looking at the locations of the ER entrance and emergency exits, as well as the security system. And then I'd spent today pretending to be visiting a patient while I scouted the inside, and in the evening headed to Sarika's house. I wanted to do it alone, but I realized that it would be too dangerous. I needed a partner who could contact Shinjo immediately if something happened, and the only two people I could ask were Sarika and Ito.
うまく取り戻せるといいな、スマホ。ここの連中が犯人と関係あるかどうか知らねえけど、やっぱりあれを渡したままにしておくのはまずい。
ああ、おかしな着信もあったしな。
思い出させるなよ。今考えても恐ろしい。
I'd cancelled my phone contract immediately, but somehow it had called Ito. That had scared the hell out of me. And unlike older cell phones, a smartphone was filled with personal information. There was no way I could let them keep it.
それにさ、あれには大事なものが入ってるもんね。
何が？
素直じゃないのって良くないこともあると思うな。怪我してるのんちゃんを喜ばせてあげてもいいのにね。
ま、宮代らしいけど。
悪かったな。
んじゃ、行こうぜ。お前が調べたデータだと、そろそろ警備が交代する時間だろ。
あ。
We nodded to each other and jogged along the walls surrounding the AH Tokyo General Hospital.
ここまでは予定通り。いや、むしろ上々だな。
Ito was right. Getting into the hospital had proved easier than planned. A big part of it was that I'd memorized the way in, but the biggest advantage we had was that the rear staff entrance was unlocked for some reason. If that had been locked, we would have had to go through the ER entrance. That would mean we'd probably be caught by the staff, but just as I was starting to worry, Sarika turned the doorknob and told me that it was unlocked. New model? It's a April Fool's model. Instead of being a cat, I'm just a regular person. So then after that, I'm gonna have like the regular one back.
また鍵が開いてた。この前と同じか。
I suddenly remembered what had happened when I'd first not. I'm gonna get a drink of water. What's regular? You aren't Diesel? Diesel? Oh yeah, the other one. Wait, Diesel. Yeah. Oh. Wait. Let's see. So this one would be the Diesel, and the one that I usually use is the regular gas. Or wait, would it be the other way around? Yeah. I suddenly remembered what happened when I first snuck into the psych ward and almost stopped for a second to think. But then I drove the idea from my mind. I needed to focus getting the phone right now. Either way, both gas models. Yeah. You dig up bones and get gas from that. Just kidding. Isn't that how gas is made? Or wait, no. Hold on. Not made. Or no, yeah, I guess it would be made. Created? From dinosaurs. It was right. It was nighttime at the hospital, and this wasn't a ward. Gas is made from dead dinos, yeah! Not live ones? Just kidding. It was nighttime at the hospital, and this wasn't a ward. And this wasn't a ward where patients were kept. The lobby was pitch dark. Sometimes I could hear a strange, unpleasant sound like a piece of metal touching. We dropped down low and tried to move quickly. Someone could spot us at any moment. It was the middle of autumn and I could still feel cold sweat running down my back.
問題はスマホがどこにあるかだよね。
だな。
If you get a plastic shopping bag and hold it, you're holding hands with a dinosaur. Really? What kind of dinosaur? Any kind? Oh wait, it probably would be any kind of dinosaur. Wow. That girl was definitely the one who picked it up. Yoi! Oh, hi, Yuri! Which meant that finding her would be the fastest way, but I had no way of knowing where she was.
だからって病院の中を全部探して回るわけにもいかないしな。
Hi! Hi! How's it going? Hello, hi. We're all saying hi.
あの日、どこであの子と会ったんだっけ？I reached out our steps on that. No, did I read that right? Retraced. There we go. I retraced our steps on that day. First, we'd hidden in the bathroom, and then.
精神科の病棟へ入った。
And then? That's where we'd seen the sumo stickers drawn on the walls in blood. And then?
ってことは、まずはそこに行かなきゃいけないってことか？
いや、何もそこまでする必要は。
And I didn't want to go back there.
病棟から逃げるときに非常階段を使った。階段をずっと降りていって、そこでスマホを落として、あの子に拾われた。
So the phone might be in the same spot that you dropped it at.
となると、その非常階段に向かえばいいってことか。どっちだ？
それが、逃げるのに夢中だったから、はっきりとした場所かな。
If I hadn't been able to remember when I'd been scouting the place out this afternoon either.
多分あっちかも。
Serika started to move forward, looking around as she walked.
覚えてるのか？
なんとなくだけど。
Serika walked forward hesitantly. We followed. Where are we going?
ここか？
違うかな。
いや、そうだったかもしれない。
There was a steel door to the emergency stairs in front of us. I turned the knob and softly pushed it. It was a little heavy, but it opened without catching on anything. This one wasn't locked either, evidently. Does anybody lock the doors around here? Oh wait. I don't think you lock emergency stairs. Never mind. The emergency stairs stretched up and down, illuminated by the colored fluorescent lights. Me? Yeah. Oh, you lock the doors? You lock the doors? Good. As I stared at them, I realized that I remembered coming down these stairs. These stairs feel familiar. They feel like stairs.
褒められちゃった。
Serika grinned.
よし、行こう。
I like the doors to keep the innocent people in. Yeah. And the guilty people out. Yeah. I clearly turned invisible as he went down the stairs. We carefully walked down the dimly lit staircase. I started to get more and more nervous. Even if I'd done my homework before I'd come here, wasn't this even easier than last time? Maybe we're being led into a trap. Maybe something terrible is waiting for us. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Oh. Maybe something terrible is waiting for us up ahead to swallow us? I tried to shake my head and drive the thoughts out of my mind.
あの子、今夜もまたどこかを歩いてるのかな。
どうだろう。
What was she doing with an old woman in the dark hallway at that hour anyway? They are friends. That's what. Where did she come from? Where did she go? Cotton Eye Joe. Also, if I did run into her again, what should I do? Ideally, I'd get my phone back without causing too much a fuss, but I couldn't imagine things would be that easy. For now, I thought of an escape route, but it still might be dangerous.
タク、ほら、あれ。
Look at what? Ooh, green light. We'd reached the end of the staircase. There was a cold steel door in front of us. There were no further stairs to go down. Past this door should be the hallway where I dropped my phone. I told myself there was no time for second thoughts, and nodded at Sarika and Ito, and then put my hand on the cold doorknob. Fortunately, it wasn't locked either. I looked down the hallway as I listened to the loud creaking of the hinges.
誰もいないね。
ああ、
Sarika and Ito both looked a little relieved. There was no one in the hallway at all. We slipped past the doorway and proceeded down the hallway, being careful not to make any noise. Maybe it was my imagination, but the air seemed more stale here than it did upstairs. Identical doors stretched out on either side, and there was no way to know what was in each room. The letters on the plates were too small to read in the dim light unless you squinted. I got close to one to try and read it, but when...
おい、誰が来る?
Stale air? Guess they left it out too long. The air's sitting on the air. You left the air on the counter too long, and now it's all stale, and it'll break your arm if you hit it on your arm. Sarek and I jumped at Ito's words. I listened carefully, and sure enough, from behind I heard... very slow footsteps. And not just one pair. They were slow, as if they were taking one step at a time. I knew those footsteps. Those footsteps were... I might hit my arm with it now. Get that nice stale crunch! Oh no! Don't crunch your arm!
とにかく一度隠れようよ。
隠れるってどこへ?
Yeah, where do you hide in here? There's a fire hydrant. Hide behind there. Close your eyes. If you can't see them, they can't see you. The door to the emergency exit was the same. Was the same way the footsteps were coming from. There was no time to get. There was no time to get back there now.
ここ開いてる。
I slid inside the door directly next to us. Just before I did, though, I saw the horrible words written on the plate next to the door. Hide in their pockets. People never check their pockets. Yeah. They get a little jump in the pocket.
何ここ？ロッカールーム？
Yup, it's a locker room. The walls were covered in steel cabinets. They were just big enough for someone to lie down in. This place was...
そうだ。もしかしたらこの中に隠れられるかもしれないよ。
Maybe, if they're empty. Sarika put her hands on one of the cabinet doors. The words on the plate had read, occupied, autopsy room. Which meant what was inside was... I closed my eyes, imagining what I was about to see inside.
どうしたのタク。
I opened my eyes when she spoke and saw there was no one. No, nothing
なん
inside.
か変なロッカーだね。
尾上、これロッカーじゃなくて。
I whispered to her and she went pale. Ito must have figured it out too because so did he.
とにかくこの中に隠れるなんてごめんな。どこか別の場所を探そう。
The footsteps were still approaching from down the hallway. And for some reason, it felt like they were coming toward this room.
嘘だろ。なんで解剖室なんかに。
This wasn't a place that anyone would ordinarily choose to visit. Ito was panicking too.
宮代、どうする？こっちに来るぞ。
I listened carefully again. There was no doubt. The footsteps were definitely coming this way. But I didn't see a place in this room we could hide. Except one. Well, I guess you have to hide in there. Sarika was shaking a little, but she put her hand on one of the cabinet doors.
バカ！そこはダメだって。隠れるなら他に。
他ってどこだ？
I looked around and didn't see another place in the room where 3 of us could hide.
早くしないと来ちゃうよ。
I didn't have a choice. I had to do it. If the lamp on the cabinet was green, did that mean it was empty? Or did it mean the opposite? I felt all the hairs on my neck stand on end, but still, I managed to pull open the door. Thankfully, there was nothing inside. Sarika was normally a ditz, but at times like this, she was really courageous. Her whole body was shaking, but she managed to jump in first.
もう一人入れるよ。私一人じゃ怖いよ。お願いだよ。
She grabbed my hand from inside. She was right, since Sarika was so small, there was room for another person in here.
人は悪いがここに3人は無理だ。お前は隣へ。お前を一人にしとくわけいかない。
俺だってこんなところに一人は嫌だ。
And then the footsteps outside stopped. Just as I expected, they stopped right outside this door. I felt a terror, like someone was pointing a cold knife at me, at my back.
待っていてください。今ドアを開けますから。
I heard a voice outside.
もうダメだ。とにかく入れ、糸。
いや、待て、やめ。
Put him in there. I ignored Ito and yanked to open the door next to mine. And then I pushed him inside, pushed him in head first. Ito held his hands over his mouth to desperately stifle a scream. As soon as he was all the way inside, I shut the door. It would be really bad if it was closed all the way, so I left him a little gap. And then I crouched inside and slid next to Sarika.
よし、閉めるぞ。
I brought the door close, leaving enough gap that it couldn't be seen from the outside. The inside of the cabinet was hard and cold. It made sense. No one who was in here would ever complain. Yeah. Since I was pushed up against Sarika, the parts of my body that were touching hers felt strangely warm. But we didn't have time to enjoy each other's warmth. I looked outside, holding my breath to make as little noise as possible. Just a moment later, they came inside. There were 5 or 6 of them. I was sure it would be all old people, but some of them were middle-aged or young men. If it was just old people, I was planning on stealing it by forcing it if I had to, but that was impossible now. But what were they doing in a place like this? And then I started to wonder again. A sudden horrible fantasy made my whole body shiver. Were they already dead? And this is where they slept? That's impossible. This wasn't a horror movie or something, right? I tried to tell myself I was being silly, but I couldn't. But I could tell I was shaking. Sarika was probably no different. She was clinging to me like a little child. And then I remembered. This was a lot like what happened before, when the two of us had seen a terrifying sight as children. At some point, I started holding her back. I squinted into the darkness. I could see several shadows moving about. The strange men, and one of them was clearly different than the others. That small girl. She slowly walked across the room, straight toward where we were hiding. Did she find us? My heart started to pound faster. But it seemed that wasn't the case. The men followed her across my field of vision and stopped in a corner in front of an empty wall. She opened what looked like a small breaker box on the wall. You know, those things with a yellow warning sign and black or red text that reads "Danger, high voltage." Yeah, I know those things. And then she took something out of her pocket and slid it inside the box. There was a loud noise on the other side of the wall. The girl shut the door to the breaker box, then put her hand on the wall and slid it. Wait, I'm making up words. Then put her hand on the wall and slid it to the side. There we go. The wall opened easily, as if it was weightless. It must have been some kind of sliding door. She led the men inside and vanished. The wall closed and the discussion room was quiet again.
隠し扉だったのか。
びっくりしたね。
ああ、もう大丈夫だ。
I waited for a moment to make sure she wasn't coming back, then finally opened the cabinet door. Sarika and I crawled out. I took a deep breath of air into my lungs.
なんかここって秘密基地みたい。
そうだな。
Yeah, you'd never suspect the place where they keep the dead bodies. Why would they build a huge mechanism like this? What was going on at at that hospital? And what was on the other side of that wall?
おい、伊藤。もう出てきても平気だぞ。
I knocked softly on the door of Ito's cabinet. Ito leapt out of the cabinet. His face was pale and his hands were over his mouth.
静かにしてくれ。
He crouched down to the ground, trying his best not to scream. It was only then I realized the cabinet I stuffed Ito in was already occupied. I could see that the lamp above the door was red. I hadn't had time to check, but still, that was horrible. That was a horrible thing to do to someone. And then he fell over.
しんちゃん、大丈夫？
すまない。非常事態だったんだ。
非常事態じゃなかったら今頃ただじゃ済ましてねえぞ。てめえ。
ほんと悪い。
もういい。それより行こうぜ。ほら。
Ito staggered to his feet. And then fell over. But then he collapsed on the floor. I waited for him to calm down and then opened the door to the breaker box, like the girl had done.
隠し扉だって？
ああ。
I took a deep breath inside the box. There was an I'm just gonna say the letters. RFID scanner, like the ones they used at the train turnstiles inside.
これじゃカードがないと開かない。
That wasn't good. What should we do now? I hadn't anticipated this. But then Sarika, who had been fiddling around with different parts of the wall, let out a small cry.
これちゃんと閉まってないよ。
何？
Whoa. Sarika pointed to her feet. The wall was set to slide upon rails on the floor, but some kind of cloth had gotten stuck and jammed them. So the door wasn't shut all the way.
手を貸せ。
OK。よっ。
The two of us yanked the door to the side. We heard a loud clunk, like something was unlocked, and then the wall started to slide open. One of the men had dropped a handkerchief or something onto the rails. When Sarika pulled it off, the door began to move more freely. All that was left was to slide the door open. And beyond it was...
また階段だぜ。
More stairs! I could see stairs going down. There was a sub-basement below the hospital basement. The place was protected by elaborate camouflage.
なんかやばい雰囲気だな。
Yeah.
どうするタク。
ここまで来たんだ。僕は行くよ。
To be honest, I was terrified at what I might find down there. But this was something I had to do no matter what. For just a moment, I thought of Kurisu.
タクル、お願いだからこれ以上はやめて。もうやめて。
尾上、伊藤、お前たちはここで待ってても。
冗談じゃねえよ。
Ito looked at the cabinets on the wall and moaned a little.
私も行く。いざとなったらタクを守らなきゃ。
逆だろ。さっき怖いって震えてたのは誰だよ。
そんなことしてないもん。
Okay, I think this is a good this is a good place to leave it for picking up next time. Let's see. Two. Okay, is there anyone I know for a raid? Yeah, okay, let's go raid. We'll be good night, Claire.